Elderly woman digs a hole in her backyard. When she finds this, she calls the army. An old lady decides to dig a 50-meter hole on her property in search of gold. But what nobody imagined was what she would find instead. The discovery will surprise you. My name is Agnes, and at the age of 60, many would say I'm living in the quiet, golden days of retirement. I was sitting on the balcony of my modest home, observing the gentle rhythm of suburban life. The rustling of leaves and the singing of birds were the soundtrack to my quiet days. Life for me consisted of small pleasures, a book in my hands, the garden I lovingly tended, and of course the TV shows I watched to distract myself. On that particular day, the sun cast a warm glow over my small garden, highlighting the beauty of the flowers I took such great care of. Outside, the world seemed to be moving at a slow and predictable pace, but inside me, a feeling of restlessness was beginning to awaken. Maybe it was the monotony of my days, or maybe it was just a dormant desire for something more, something exciting and extraordinary. With this feeling bubbling up in my chest, I leaned back and turned on the television, looking for distraction in the afternoon news. Soon, animated journalists appeared on the screen, their faces lit up with news that promised to break the stillness of the day. I squirmed in my chair, curious. "Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen," began the reporter. "We bring you an incredible story today, straight from a small town that is now on the map for an impressive discovery." The camera showed an ordinary house, but the backyard was anything but ordinary. There, a simple couple smiled, surrounded by cameras and curious neighbors, as they proudly displayed what looked like gold nuggets. "This couple here, ladies and gentlemen," said the journalist, "has found a real treasure buried in their backyard. Experts have already confirmed the authenticity of the gold, and now everyone is wondering what else could be hidden right under our feet." The news stunned me. Gold in an ordinary backyard? The idea sounded like something out of a fairy tale or an adventure story I used to read to my son when he was little. But there it was on the news, as real as the tea I was holding. The reporter's words echoed in my mind. What else could be hiding right under our feet? The possibility of discovering something extraordinary in my own backyard stirred something inside me, a glow of excitement and a hint of daring mixed with my usual glee. What if I could find something like that? What if there were hidden treasures waiting to be discovered beneath the earth that I cared so much for? The news ended, but the seed was already planted in my mind. A plan that looked like an adventure began to form in my mind. Maybe I was crazy, or maybe it was just a dream, but at that moment, lying on that quiet couch, I decided it would be worth finding out. The next day, after a night of pondering, I made my decision. A new day dawned, and with it, a new Agnes emerged. The elderly woman I had been, content with the same routine, now found herself consumed by a mission. Sitting at the kitchen table, I unrolled a large piece of paper to start planning my backyard. My dear backyard was about to become the stage for my great madness. In the center of the paper, I drew a large circle, representing the place where I would start digging. Here I thought, this is where my life will change. It wasn't an impulsive decision, but a considered choice driven by love and necessity. My son and his family were facing difficult times in the city, and the news of that lucky couple kept popping into my head. What if I can help them? What if I can change everything? With that thought in mind, I picked up a small garden shovel and went out into my yard. The sun was not yet high in the sky, and the fresh morning air filled my lungs. I started digging, the soft earth giving way under the pressure of the shovel. At first it was easy, almost therapeutic, but as the hole got deeper, the task became more challenging. For those of you who wonder, how could an old lady dig a hole on her own? Now, my friend, I wasn't always old. I used to work with my father in the fields, carrying buckets and buckets of corn. So yes, I'm quite strong. Days passed, and the hole in my backyard got bigger. With my last resources, I bought more suitable tools, a pickaxe, a bigger shovel, even a small ladder to get in and out of the hole, which now resembled a small well. I was determined, driven by the vision of providing a better life for my son and his family. In fact, I kept the secret to myself, not wanting to worry my son or give him false hope. In my mind, I imagined the moment when I would call him, my voice trembling with joy, to tell him about the treasure I had found. But as the days went by, something strange began to happen. My tea, which always waited for me warm and comforting after a long day of digging, now remained inexplicably cold, and the television, my constant companion, showed only a static screen. These peculiar occurrences perplexed me, but my mission was greater than such trivialities. I had a purpose, a dream, and nothing was going to stop me. With each passing day, with each layer of earth removed, I felt one step closer. But as the hole deepened, the earth began to reveal its secrets. Layers of soil gave way to more compact earth, more difficult to penetrate. Each stroke of the shovel filled my mind with images of glinting gold, of hidden wealth waiting to be discovered. But day after day I found only dirt and stones. On a day that seemed like any other, my shovel hit something hard. My heart raced. Could it be? I thought, as I cleaned the dirt around the object. It was long, hard, and strangely familiar. But as I revealed its shape, a cold sensation ran through my body, and to my misfortune, it wasn't gold or a precious stone, it was a bone. A large, ancient bone, lying there as a mute testimony to a long-forgotten past. For a moment I was paralyzed, the reality of my discovery sinking in. A bone, I whispered to myself with disappointment and confusion, but something inside me refused to give up. Maybe my gold was still there, or maybe this was just the beginning. The hole, that had started as a simple search for gold, now extended into a vast network of tunnels and underground chambers filled with gigantic bones. I had unearthed what appeared to be an ancient cemetery, or perhaps an archaeological site of great importance. Each new discovery brought a mixture of awe and fear. The outside world seemed to have disappeared completely, leaving only me and the silence of my bones. I was alone, truly alone, accompanied only by the memories of those whose remains rested around me. Don't you understand yet? Even I had to accept my fate. I had set out in search of gold, but what I found was something much more precious, a connection to the past, a buried story waiting to be told. And now I was part of that story too. The days passed, and I kept digging deeper than ever. Suddenly, the ground beneath my feet gave way. I was swallowed up into the abyss I had created for myself. Everything happened so quickly, and yet at that moment, time seemed to stretch on indefinitely. I fell, my arms reaching out, trying uselessly to grab onto something. And then, with a deafening thud, my body hit the bottom. The ceiling was no more than 3 meters high. He'll never know, I thought. He'll never know how hard I tried, and as I lay there, something inside me broke loose. I saw myself above the hole, watching my own body lying motionless. I was dead, a soul trapped between two worlds, unable to move on, but unable to go back. Time lost its meaning. I watched the world, oblivious to my absence. Sadness and melancholy were my only companions, and so I carried on like a shadow among shadows, waiting for something or someone to free me from the limbo in which I found myself. The next day, as if fate wanted me not to wander for eternity, I heard footsteps outside. It was my son, James, coming to visit after months of not hearing from me. He called out to me countless times until he noticed my tools near the hole. Overcome with emotion, he ran to the neighbors, shouting for help. Soon, police, firefighters, and authorities arrived and began a frantic search. After some time, they found me lying at the bottom of a hole that had become my grave. As news of my death spread, curiosity about the hole grew, and archaeologists were called in. The bones and artifacts I had found were priceless, belonging to an ancient, unknown civilization. James, in mourning, watched it all, a mixture of sadness and pride. He saw the teams at work and knew that somehow I had succeeded. I was gone, but my legacy remained, deeper and more meaningful than any of us could have imagined. The archaeological site, which had once been my backyard, now bore my name, Agnes Moore Archaeological Site, a tribute that echoed my determination and curiosity. The discoveries continued to amaze scientists and attract visitors from all over the world. My son, James, began to see the light again. The rights to the discovery turned into a significant sum of money, exactly what I had dreamed of providing. And after a few weeks, he found a video I had recorded on my first day. "James, my dear son," I said, "I have found a way to help you and my grandchildren. There are treasures buried here, and I'm going to find them. Don't worry about me, I'm fine." Amidst a turmoil of emotions, my dear son felt a mixture of sadness at my departure and gratitude for my last act of love. "She did it," he whispered, looking up at the sky. "She really did it." In his heart, he knew that somehow I was looking at him, sharing in the joy and pride of what we had achieved. I had helped my family, even after my death. As James walked through the archaeological site that had once been his mother's quiet backyard, memories of her filled his mind. He could still picture her tending to the flowers, her hands in the soil, working with that same quiet determination that had driven her to dig deeper than anyone would have dared. The discovery of bones, artifacts, and remnants of a forgotten civilization had turned her final act into something extraordinary. Though she hadn't found gold, her legacy had become something much greater. The findings at the Agnes Moore Archaeological Site drew attention from around the world. Paleontologists, historians, and even university students visited the site, eager to learn about the ancient secrets Agnes had uncovered. News outlets reported on the discovery as groundbreaking, noting the mysteries surrounding the artifacts and the unusual size and age of the bones. One day, a renowned archaeologist approached James with a remarkable proposal. "Mr. Moore," he said, "your mother's discovery holds such immense historical value that we're considering naming the research center after her. This could be one of the most significant archaeological finds of our time." James felt a surge of pride and sorrow at the same time. His mother had given so much, even in her final days, to leave behind a legacy for him and his family. Though her journey ended unexpectedly, it had ultimately brought meaning and prosperity that her family would cherish for generations. With the funds from the site and the recognition that came with his mother's discovery, James was able to provide his children with everything she had hoped for them. They could now attend the best schools, pursue their dreams, and explore the world with a sense of security. Inspired by their grandmother's adventurous spirit and tenacity, the children often visited the archaeological site with James, where they'd listen to stories about their brave grandmother. They were filled with a sense of awe, knowing that Agnes had been a part of something far beyond what they could understand. For James, honoring his mother's memory became a lifelong commitment. He dedicated a part of the funds to create a scholarship in her name, one that would support students studying history and archaeology. He wanted to ensure that young people who shared Agnes's passion for discovery could explore the world's mysteries just as she had. As the years passed, the Agnes Moore Archaeological Site became a symbol of resilience, curiosity, and the power of a dream, reminding everyone that sometimes what we find is far more valuable than what we initially set out to discover. And in the stillness of the early morning light, as visitors walked the grounds of her once quiet backyard, there was a sense that Agnes was still there, her spirit woven into the land she had once loved. She had found something far richer than gold. She had found a legacy, one that would echo through time and inspire countless others to dig a little deeper into life's mysteries.